Welcome to the Wanderers Cooking Series in collaboration with the Coastline Elderly Service. I'm Edith Andrews and my colleagues are...
Hello everyone, I'm Kim Ferreira, the dietitian at Coastline, and we thank you for viewing us today. We're going to cook something really nice and delicious today. We are lucky to have one of my colleagues at Coastline here, Carol Perry, with the Elderly Nutrition Program. So she's going to speak a little bit about what she does and why it's so important. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. My name is Carol Perry. I'm the Congregate Site Supervisor for the Meals on Wheels program. There's two aspects to the Meals on Wheels program, as most people know. There's the home delivered meals, and then we also have another portion, which is the meals that are served at the senior centers, and there are 11 different sites that we serve those meals at.
Great.
That's great.
Well, are we ready to get started?
Yes.
Well, I hope you're in the mood for sweets because we are doing a dessert today. We are going to do some brownies, but we're going to have a nice little spin. We are going to make black bean brownies. Have either of you ever had black bean brownies?
No.
You have?
I have.
Good.
I have not.
And how were they?
They were delicious.
She's speaking about when I actually made them for our staff a few months ago for a lunch and learn. And I know many people were very reluctant to eat these when they had the word black beans in. But when you see all the ingredients we put in, it really does mask, and it's a great way to get the extra nutrients in, like your iron and some of your key vitamins, some B vitamins, and some fiber, and some great protein. So this is going to end up replacing some of the flour that we put in the black beans. So I assure you, you're really going to like them,
Okay.
Edith. I can't promise, but
Right.
I'm pretty optimistic.
Well, you know, you could have fooled me from the beginning because I thought that was chocolate.
Oh.
I really did.
Hey, good. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything then, right?
Well, I didn't know when I first tried them that there was black beans in them. They tasted a little different,
Yeah.
but you couldn't tell what was in there.
Good. Well, we're going to get started and show you all how very easy it is to make these. So we're going to start, everything is going to be in our blender. So you're going to start with 3/4 of a cup of beans, and then you're going to add about 1/2 cup of oil. You can have pretty much just your standard vegetable oil. A canola oil will do, corn oil. If you are someone who loves to use olive oil, just make sure that you use the extra light. Don't use an extra virgin olive oil because that olive flavor is going to be way too strong for baking.
Okay.
So we're going to first start by pureeing those two together. So we almost form like a paste.
It was a good thing that you mentioned not the virgin oil, because all I could think of, you know, that they always say how much more it's better for you.
Yep.
But now that you mentioned, you know, that you shouldn't because it's going to be too strong.
Yeah. Yeah, you may need to give it a couple different pulses to
right.
stir it around a little bit. You know, as we add more ingredients, it will smoothen out, but you do want to make sure that it has a smooth consistency from the beginning. So after you have your black beans starting to puree a little bit, we're going to add 2 eggs to this mixture. If you are trying to cut down on fat, you can very easily do 2 egg whites per whole egg. You know, we think of eggs as kind of having a bad rap, and really until recently, you know, people were skeptical of having eggs every day. But really little do we know that yolk, which contains all the cholesterol and all the fat, really also contains a lot of good vitamins and minerals for us. Some recent studies show that there is some nutrients, choline, that is really prevalent in yolks that has been really, really helpful for memory. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to keep my memory as sharp as long as I can.
And I'm already there, so I can keep it ready too.
But a nice switch, if you really don't want to use 2 eggs, do a whole egg, and then you can always add 2 egg whites to it to cut down a little bit on the fat.
That sounds good.
Next is our cocoa powder.
Do you want to puree this first?
Nope, we'll add that. We can add that first. So we are going to do about 1/4 of a cup of cocoa powder. What's really nice about cocoa powder, and I don't know if any of you guys look at the nutrition label, but this is where we're going to get that nice rich chocolate flavor. But if you look at cocoa, look at the sugar. What's it say? Oh
no! You shouldn't have asked me. It says is that 7 or 0?
0.
0.
So keep in mind, cocoa is a great way to add that chocolate flavor with 0 grams of sugar. Pure cocoa has no sugar whatsoever. As a side note.
As anyone that's older will remember, we grew up drinking cocoa.
Oh, just
Cocoa.
added straight cocoa
Just
to your milk?
cocoa with milk, and then you could heat it up and have hot cocoa. And that's, anyone of my age would know that, all the elderly, and anyone in between that grew up with grandparents and all that. We always drank cocoa. No coffee, cocoa.
Wow. And you're not adding the extra sugar too, so that's a bonus.
Yeah, well, sometimes they would have, because it would come in Hershey's cocoa. That was cocoa powder for your chocolate drinks.
Oh, good to know. I'm going to have to try that when it gets colder. Next, we're going to add our sweetness, and we're going to have 2/3 of a cup of sugar. Again, if you're trying to cut down, I probably wouldn't have it, but, instead of having a completely huge mounding, you could maybe spoon it a little bit, just again, making those little changes to lower the sugar and the fat a little bit. So next is going to be a teaspoon of vanilla. And vanilla is one of those nice ingredients to add when you're baking, because it does, again, add that sweetness without all of the sugar, because there's no sugar in vanilla. So now we are going to puree that up again.
Now, the vanilla, is it the pure or imitation?
It doesn't matter. Today we have the imitation. If you have pure, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may need to work this a couple times just so you're getting a consistent batter while you're putting the ingredients in. That looks pretty good. Next is our chocolate.
Oh.
So we are going to take 1/4 of a cup of mini chocolate chips. And Edith, if you can just spoon me some chocolate chips. Okay. And we're going to pop them in the microwave so they melt. I'm going to do about 45 seconds, so when it comes out, it has, it's nicely melted, and we're going to add that to our mixture. Again, it's not a whole lot of chocolate, 1/4 of a cup, but between that and the cocoa, it's really going to amp up the nice chocolatey flavor. What is a way to even increase the health of this with mini chocolate chips? What could you add in replace of it? Quiz.
What? I wasn't listening. I'm trying to see.
Instead of our semi-sweet chocolate chips, what could you add? What chocolate chips could you add instead for just a little slight increase in health?
I'm thinking caramel.
The dark chocolate.
Oh,
research does say in moderation, dark chocolate does have health effects. Not everybody likes the dark chocolate because it's going to be a little bit bitter, but it is something that you can add to this recipe very easily. All right.
I was thinking so far away from another chocolate ingredient.
I was thinking caramel.
Yeah, and that's you could add that in replace of the chocolate chips too. That's a good suggestion. So we're just going to stir this a little bit just to make sure that it's all melted, and then we'll throw this in here. And then Edith, you weren't getting out of this without doing a little bit of work either.
Oh yes, I was hoping.
You are going to add just 1/3 of a cup of flour into this bowl. Beautiful.
Okay, which bowl?
That bowl, yep. Okay. And then 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So as you see, most brownie recipes call for a lot more flour. So this is just 1/3 of a cup. So we're replacing kind of the other carbs with our more nutrient-rich carbs like our beans. And you're just gonna give that a little mix together.
Okay, just this. I don't have to put anything else in it.
You might be able to shake it like that. Perfect.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We're gonna add this to our blender. All right, take it away, Carol.
Oh, that's good.
Smells. Can you smell it from here?
It smells delicious. It smells delicious.
Nice
and I like it. It's like doing it in one pan. You know,
Right.
one thing, because my husband was, well, he was an executive chef, and he'd be a little bit of this, a little bit. I said, hey, I'm the dishwasher. Don't give me a little bit of this. Put it all in one panala.
Yeah, it's a nice bonus with this is you're just keeping it all condensed in that blender.
Yes.
These are good. Okay. Nice. Perfect. You can take that off. The very last step is our chocolate chips. Just so we have a little bit of texture, we're going to take the remaining 1/4 of a cup. So again, it's still just a half a cup of chocolate chips, and we're just going to put it in there. So Carol, if you want to just stir that together.
That's nice.
Isn't this where Emma says we should have smell-o-vision?
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's, oh, yes.
And see, if you look at it, Edith, take a look. Would you know that there are black beans in it at all?
Never,
No.
because they blend in with the chocolate.
Yeah, if you can get a shot of this, it's nice and smooth. You know, you can't even tell that there's black beans. I'm smelling it. You cannot tell whatsoever that there are black beans in there. So it looks like a regular old, you know, brownie batter.
And it smooths right out because the black beans are already pulverized, were they?
Right, and well, they're already canned. So with the canned beans, again, some canned products can be higher in sodium. So what we like to do is before, and I should have said this in the beginning, before you add your beans, make sure you rinse it out. You don't want all that extra liquid in there. And you also want to give it a nice big rinse, because any sodium that's on there, you can get rid of up to how much sodium by rinsing out your vegetables and your beans.
Is it all of it? I don't know.
Now, I wish all of it, I wish. Any thoughts?
1%.
I have no idea.
40%,
Wow.
up to 40%
That's
of the
only?
sodium.
That's
Well, that's
a lot.
almost half. That's a pretty good, significant decrease in the amount of sodium just by simply rinsing it out.
It doesn't seem like it's enough to be, you know, just 40. 40% is still a lot in there.
Yeah, well, you're still having 60% of it, but you are getting rid of a good amount. If you like to cook with beans a lot, you can always pre-soak them beforehand, because we know dry beans have 0 sodium.
Okay.
We have to take that extra step to soak them overnight, or cook them for a couple hours. But that way, that is an easy way to decrease the sodium. And speaking of sodium, one thing that I always try to omit when I can is the salt. This recipe usually calls for salt, but when you're adding ingredients like the black beans, which again are going to have a little bit of sodium in them, and the baking powder, most people may not realize, but baking powder has sodium. 1/8 of a teaspoon has 55 milligrams of sodium. So with that being said, we don't need to add extra sodium by adding the salt. Something to keep in mind. So we're going to scoop this out. And you can just use like a 9x9 pan. I think I have a 9x5 pan. And that will be adequate for this recipe. You can always double it if you want, but what I really like about this recipe is we all like sweets. We can't deny that sweet tooth sometimes. So it's really nice when we can, have recipes that are a little creative, that, maybe from the title has you squirming a little bit, but at the end of the day, when you taste it, you really may not notice the difference. So I'm gonna just smooth this out like so. And this will go in the oven at 350.
I'll take that.
Remember, I never said I was the cleanest. I'm always making a mess somewhere. I call it my 1 a day, by the way. It's always guaranteed. when you're looking to see if this brownie mix is done, you'll know when it's done when the outside is already starting to have a nice firm base and the inside is still just a little bit shiny. I like to have my brownies a little bit gooey, so I like to slightly underbake them a couple minutes. You may like to have them more firm, but you're gonna bake them around 20 minutes depending on your oven. So, put these in. And wow, moving forward, it's been 20 minutes. So as you see, if you can show a view, the outside is just as I talked about. You can see it nice and firmly shaped around the outside, but see how it's still just a little shiny in the inside? They're typically going to cool for a few minutes.
Okay.
But today we'll try them and just blow on them for a couple minutes. The last step, and this is always optional, but if you're having guests over and you want to, spruce it up a little bit and just add that little pizzazz, you can sprinkle just a little bit of powdered sugar on them. But again, totally optional, and they really don't necessarily need it. They're going to taste just as delicious without them, but you can always do that.
Looks a little bit more festive than
it does. It adds a little bit of color. Yeah. So there you have it. These are our black bean brownies. So now, do we want to try them?
Yes.
You're like, of course.
Well, the only black beans I've had is in it's like soup or eating with rice or whatever might be.
Right. Most people don't associate beans with sweets and things.
Right.
But nowadays, especially now that more people are having issues with wheat and gluten, you're finding a lot more of these recipes out there that really are just thinking outside of the box so that people that do have those types of conditions can still enjoy something sweet. I know I wouldn't want to have to go without having an occasional sweet all the time. Now, let's just take a knife, take a fork. So remember, you do typically want them to sit a little bit so they'll continue to firm up. So these may be just a little bit soft for us, but Edith has never tried these, so we have to
so
have
I'm
her
going
try
to be the guinea pig.
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, these are done perfectly how I like them, so we did a good job, ladies.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Without even trying it, I can already tell they taste good. They are hot, so give them a couple of...
I think I just blew all of the confectionery sugar right off of them.
So take a bite and let's
very nice.
It's great because you add those mini chocolate chips and giving them just 20 minutes, they have a nice melting consistency too. Right. So you're getting just those little hints of that chocolate that's melted in combination with the pure cocoa. So what do you ladies think? Is this something you make at home?
Oh, absolutely.
In replace of your regular brownie mix?
This is wonderful.
Good.
Yeah, I like it.
I do my brownies from scratch anyway, so this is really a nice alternative. And the first time I tried them cold.
Oh,
so this is a lot better one.
Perfect. This is a great recipe for you parents and grandparents or caregivers out there to sneak in those extra nutrients for those kids because they always see the fruits and vegetables. Those can be a little difficult to mask sometimes. This is a perfect recipe to already make and they will have no idea. So we hope that you try this recipe again. Carol, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's so wonderful to have you here on the show too.
Yes, and we missed Charlie.
Yes, we do. Hello, Charlie, if you're watching. We hope you feel better.
Yes.
Everyone have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.